Hello everyone, welcome. It's me Melissa in the ranting shop. This is for the Love is Blind fans. So I binge watched the entire series and I know most of us have, and everybody's literally waiting for and anticipating the reunion that's going to be taking place pretty soon, I think on the weekend. So I decided that I'm just gonna speak about the top 11, top 12 major happenings that took place throughout the entire season. Starting with number one, Jack chose Irina and realized he made a mistake. Now, a lot of people have a lot of criticisms for Zach because they felt as if Bliss warned him, especially when it came to his birthday, when she made the cakes for him and she was telling him that her and Irina had an issue and so on. Like he was unable to see through that to make a better decision. Instead, he figured, you know what? I've been the one that's been in Irina's space, talked down on, misunderstood, downcasted, everything. So he figured, you know what? I'm going to pick the one who I think relates to me the most based on my past trauma. And I feel like a lot of this show had to do with the people trying to fight between their healed self versus their troubled selves. And I feel like some people like Zach, you could tell that he's not healed from his past, and that translated into who he ended up picking because he listed all these amazing qualities about Bliss, still ended up picking Irina, and then finally learned for himself that that wasn't his right choice. Now, I'm pretty sure he was attracted to Irina and it would have worked if Irina was interested in him, but because she wasn't interested in him, he had to move on. He had to put his tail between his legs and ask Irina instead. So he tries his luck with ask Bliss instead. So he tries his luck with Bliss. Bliss is unsure. She's upset. She's annoyed because I warned you and you still chose Irina. And now you're coming crawling back to me about it's always been you. Like that's some BS. So she was kind of annoyed with that, and she always brought it up because it's annoying. It's very aggravating thinking that somebody you know is not that great of a person got picked over you who everyone knows is a great person. It's kind of crazy, but that's what happens. He wanted to heal her because he felt like he went through similar things that she's gone through and he failed because she wasn't willing to be healed. So Bliss feels hesitant to accept second best but accepts his proposal, and everything is good. They go see their mom. Mom is happy. Mom is very empathetic towards him because his story of losing his mom is very sad, it's very tragic. And she's like, I'm gonna be your mom, I'll be your mom. So mom is on board, everything is cool with mom. But when he got taken to dad is divorced from her mom, and dad is with another wife, a completely different family, and dad is very skeptical. Now I have a unpopular opinion, which is that the dad's reaction was completely normal. I don't know what fairy tale people live in. They look at these reality shows and they feel like, of course, the parents should be supportive no matter what. But some parents, based on their experiences, are extremely scared for their children and do not want their children to end up suffering in the end. So I don't see why you should blame him for his response. His response was correct. He didn't say anything wrong. Granted, he could have been warmer about it, but he didn't feel like being that way. But I don't think people should criticize the man for being worried about his daughter's choices because it's crazy. Imagine your child coming to you and telling you, I've known this guy for 20 days. You as parents have never met the guy. You cannot vet him for yourselves. You just have to trust what your child says and put yourself in his perspective where his first daughter also made the wrong choice. So in his mind he's thinking that his children are really not good in the romantic sense of things. In relationships, you're not good at making logical decisions, and of course he's gonna be critical. I don't see anything wrong with that. And he said something that was quite true in regards to the fact that, like, you saw me and your mom go through a divorce, But what you're doing is kind of putting you at risk of a divorce sooner than later, because you're in a place where you don't really know this guy. You're kind of going to be getting to know him during the marriage, and that could either work or it will not work, so he didn't say anything wrong. He was just being a dad. And I feel like, again, a lot of the parents were giving favorable responses, and like I think the audience got kind of spoiled with the parents just getting on board, that when places that didn't get on board, it's like, what's wrong with him? But actually, he's absolutely quite normal, and he's probably the most normal dad out of all the parents we met on the show. It's the ones that were quick to get on board. These ones you kind of have to question, like, you guys are kind of out of this world, but in the context of the show, he kind of stood out. Then we saw Micah. Micah turns Kwame down, and Kwame cries. Kwame could not get over it. And Kwame got with Chelsea, of course. And at the pool party, he tries to fool Chelsea into believing he was checking Micah, because Micah said something, and I don't even quite remember what she said. She said something about a mistake, a mistake engagement or something that she said that was kind of out of pocket, and he seemed seemingly mad until he started speaking to Micah, and then he spent 30 more minutes giggling and laughing with her. So it's like, Kwame, who exactly are you fooling? Like, you're literally playing in Chelsea's face at this point. So everybody was saying that, like, if you had to check her on something, check her on that and leave. Don't check her and stay and laugh and giggle. Like, that's crazy. I don't know who you're trying to fool. And then we see Chelsea asking Kwame to sacrifice a lot of the relationship to work. Basically, what I was saying is we see Chelsea asking him to sacrifice a lot for the relationship, including him moving to her city where he has no friends, where he has, like, his routine is completely gonna be messed up, and he has to do a lot of things to accommodate her. And we don't see her saying, we don't see the conversation that they're having in terms of negotiating. It's more so, make a sacrifice. If you want this to work, compromise. But it's mostly him compromising, and we don't see her compromising. And even when he speaks to his kind of worries about compromising, she never kind of says, okay, let me meet you halfway. She kind of just is like waiting for him to just talk, but you're gonna do it right, kind of thing. And I just don't see that working. And we see that go throughout the relationship, and we also see that although Kwame is like filling his words with these flowery talks and these flowery words, we also see that he's quite hesitant about moving forward with Chelsea, despite what he might say that might drown out that negative thought and feeling that he has. We see it and we're aware of it, because we compare the couples and we see Brett is all in, Tiffany's all in. And so when you compare the two, it's like you could tell who wants to really be with each other and who is hesitant about being with the other person. It's quite evident. So we have that. And we see that in the ending, nobody knows what Kwame's decision is, but we know Chelsea is all in. Chelsea has always been all in, which is what makes me nervous, because I feel like I want him to say yes because of Chelsea, because she's so into him. But I don't want him to say yes because I feel like he's not fully into it. And the pressure might get to him and he might say yes because of the external pressure, but he does not want, that's not what he wants. So I think he's gonna say no. Anyways, so Tiffany, during the pod, she fell asleep, and we see Brett get discouraged, and I think all of us as the audience were very like, oh my gosh, Brett, don't get upset, don't quit, Tiffany was sleeping, like, you have to know. I think all of us were freaking out at that moment, because he went to the guy's lounge and he's basically like, I poured my heart out to her and no response, and she was literally sleeping. So I'm happy. I think that was their biggest hurdle, but he didn't take it too seriously, because he did come back to the pods and they proposed to each other, and they've been strong ever since. They're probably the strongest couple, the strongest and healthiest couple we've ever seen. So we have Irina and Micah. Together, they were the worst. They were mean girls. They were terrible. Like, we could see both of them were insecure. Both of them were, like, catty. You know, they, I suppose, threw their fears of getting rejected onto the other women in a negative way. Micah by herself is tolerable, but Micah with Irina is unbearable. Irina by herself is unbearable. She turned out to be one of the meanest, most disgusting, vile people that I think I've ever watched on TV. But wait a minute, we're gonna talk about one that's probably even worse than Micah. Than Irina. Irina apologized, but nobody's buying it. And I think Irina has, and she's not gonna be able to get out of that villain role that she's been put in because of her behavior on the show. And people love to blame editing, but at the end of the day, what you said is what you said. You said what you said. You did what you did. Yes, it could be out of context. Yes, there could be more reasons for why you did what you did, but you did it. You know, I need people to stop blaming editing. It's kind of annoying. And so Irina kind of left the show, thank God for that. Then we have Irina and Micah. They were best friends until Irina started pushing up on her man Paul. And they were mean girls for the first half of the show, which I said before. And when she learned that that happened, she confronts Irina, and I really don't know the status of their relationship. I want to think that they kind of distance themselves from each other, because I would also be looking at Irina with a side eye if I feel as if you are attracted to the man I'm supposed to be like married to. That's kind of crazy, because it's like every time I bring the man around you, I'd be anxious because I don't know what tactic you try, you know, especially because you consider me your best friend and you still do this to me. So she finally realized when it kind of happened to her that maybe Irina is not the victim. Maybe other people are right about her. I don't know. I don't understand why it took that long for her to figure that out, but whatever. She did, and that's the best part. And it's upward from there for Micah. Even though people still don't quite like Micah that much, it is what it is. Okay. Then we have Marshall and Jacqueline. So Marshall picked Jackie, and you know, I knew that would be a disaster because in the pods, Jackie was like, oh, Josh is telling me that if I go, he's gonna leave. If I don't choose him, he's gonna run away. He's gonna go in front of a truck and do stuff to himself. Like, the moment I saw her do that, I'm like, she's looking for an out. Because why even bring that up if you're all in with a guy? Why bring up what another guy is talking about to another guy? That's crazy. But Marshall picked Jackie, and she regretted picking him from the very start. From the very start. When she was talking about, oh, I know, I'll go back to my old self, I'll push you away. It didn't take too long for her to start pushing him away. All the theatrics and tactics that she was employing were to push him away. And he didn't. And he kept reassuring her that he wasn't going to. But I think that's not the reaction she wanted. She wanted him to go away. You know, so that way she wouldn't really be casted as the bad guy. But because he didn't go away, it's like it forced her hand and she had to just say it. And that ended up making her look like a terrible person because of how she did it. Because according to the editing, it looked as if she was still with Josh, at least. Well, she was still with Marshall. At least they were still working things out. And then she goes out with Josh and decides to give Josh a chance. And then goes back to Marshall and is saying, I saw Josh and I'm more attracted to Josh. That's what she told Marshall. So she's coming on her IG basically saying to us that they kind of put things out of timing and that really she saw Josh first. And actually she was saying that she broke up with Marshall first and then saw Josh. But even after the talk with Marshall, she says, I went out with Josh. That's what she said to Marshall. I went out with Josh and I like him more. That's what she says. So if it was out of context, then you met with him at some point before you broke up. Maybe it wasn't at that time, but you met up at some point before that filming that took place. So you're not gonna fool any of us. But anyways, when she was done breaking up with Marshall, she's like, I'm sorry. She tried to play that that role, like, oh, pity her. She just doesn't know, and she whatever. And then pretty soon she's like, I don't care. Like, yeah, I broke up with him and I don't care. And so it made her the most unlikable character on this season. She tried to not seem like a bad guy, but ended up seeming like the bad guy, the worst guy on the show. So my thing about it is, her and Josh are probably better for each other, but that's what I'm saying. And this show kind of proves that love is not blind, because these people make a choice in the pods, right? And their choice is made based on what they hear, based on compatibility, based on whatever it is, right? But the moment they see other people and they realize, oh, yeah, I didn't pick her, but she's way better looking than the choice I made, then you want to switch up. Then it kind of unravels the concept of the show, which is love is supposed to be blind, and makes it so that love isn't blind. Because after y'all see the people y'all rejected, all of a sudden y'all do like the person y'all picked. And then it's almost like, okay, are you still stuck on surface level attraction, or do you really want to find somebody that in your core matches with you? And that's why I said this show was all about healed versus traumatized or unhealed selves. And for the most part, you'd see that the unhealed won. In the case of Jackie, that woman is not fit to be in any kind of relationship. Not with Josh, not with anybody. She is disgusting. And she should have therapy. And she should be by herself. Because I see her just wrecking people left, right, and center. Because she's a mess. Or it's either that, or she was just playing a role and she was doing all this because she didn't want Marshall and she wanted to send Marshall away. I think that's probably what it was, but I don't know and nobody would know. But it was disgusting. And we saw people like Zach made the decision based on an unhealed perspective. Because I don't know who would choose somebody that forgot about their birthday to be with, to propose to. That is crazy, you know. But anyway, it was a learning lesson for him, and I'm pretty happy he had to go through that, because that would teach him to go or to do better for yourselves and to probably seek therapy, because that's crazy. The only people I think picked perfectly was Brett and Tiffany. They did an awesome job. Chelsea and Kwame. Kwame wanted this girl for some reason. Kwame wanted Micah, and Micah stepped back from Kwame because she felt like he was doing too much too soon, and she chose somebody that was, I guess, more at her speed. But either way it goes, let me know what you guys think about this season. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comment section. Are you ready for the reunion? Because I am. Like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.